I could try to wait until more people enter the chat before I just start um, expressing myself. I'm new to this YouTube going live feature, so you have to bear with me. But um, I'm just gonna jump right into it. As you can tell by the title, the Women's Center, specifically the their emergency domestic violence shelter. I won't say their name, but it starts with a D, and that's for sure. D as in dog. Anyway, I'm gonna recap a little bit um, about my experience with them, and it started. I have a 16-year-old, and I first reached out to the Women's Center Domestic Violence Shelter when my 16-year-old was 8 years old. Okay. Um, with that being said, when I initially reached out to them back a few years ago, I stayed at their shelter, and what had happened was, I guess their shelter is considered private, for because it's a safe place. Mind you, it's right in the middle of a war zone. It's right in the middle of um, um it basically there is a mortuary right across the street, a liquor store right across the street from this safe place. Okay. Um, with that being said, I reached out back then, years ago. My grandmother lived not too far away from this safe place, so I ended up leaving, going back to my grandmother's house with my children for whatever purposes. My mother decided to pick me up. Instead of me walking, my mother decided to pick me up a block down the street. With doing that, they, violated me, blacklisted me, for having my mother come a block away from this safe place. They blocked me, blacklisted, all that. Fast forward, so that was like what, I don't know, about 6 years ago. I don't know, 5 years ago. So just recently, I attempted to seek shelter because yes, I was in a DV situation where the police were called, and I don't want to get into that, but I need their services again recently. Um, what had happened was I was the victim, and I reached out with a peace officer, and I gave them my government name. Um, when I say reached out, I'm meaning I called the Women's Center Emergency Crisis Line. I reached out to them. I explained my story in detail. That was hard for me to do. She wanted to know my name. She wanted to know the name of my children, and I gave her my name. Now, at the end of this about 25-minute phone call, she tells me that I do not qualify for their services. Yes, I gave them my real name. Now, that happened about 2 weeks ago. Okay. Um, so let me give you a little bit more backstory. So about 2 years ago, I reached out because I needed their services, and I gave them my real name. Oh no, I'm sorry. I gave them the wrong name, and I was let into their shelter under this fake name. Eventually, I had to come clean for legal purposes, and I ended up telling them, my real name. And with doing so, I guess their number one priority is to find out, who a person is, because they work diligently into the names, and you will come to learn in a minute. But anyhow, so while staying there, I was under an anonymous name. They eventually found out my real name, and they gave me a hard time about it. I let them know at that time, like, hey, you know what? Here's, you guys have my police report. Well, not police report, but I told them, like, hey, I'm a woman of domestic violence, and I need your services regardless. And I was scared at the time, and I needed, to seek a safe place. That's why I went and I decided to use a false name. They didn't like that. I did that. But I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what is the main reason that you're giving me a hard time about my name when you should be focusing on a woman who's obviously needing some type of assistance because she's coming here. She's not causing problems here. It's all about who I am, I guess, as a person. I guess, I don't know. I'm asking you all who's listening to give your opinion in the comments. Honestly, I'm sorry I'm not a really good storyteller. Um, so I hope you guys don't get, this story misinterpreted. But basically, that happened. Okay, so then after that, stay there. A year later, I needed their services again because yet again I became a victim. From the hospital bed, I already knew that they were going to deny me services. So I told the nurse, about my concerns about calling the women's center. But she did, and she did she had integrity, and we both had integrity actually, and we both decided to give them my real name. The nurse called on my behalf. The nurse returned and said that they will allow me to stay, which was a blessing, but I only could stay for 12 days. I said, wow. Well, hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. So I was let in for 12 exact days. And on the 12th day, I woke up in a bedroom with two bunk beds. I woke up to one bunk bed being completely empty. I woke up leaving, not knowing where I was going to go, because the women's center only told me I could stay for 12 days. But yet they had open beds at that time. I left that morning. I went on a walk, and if you go to my channel, if you go to my channel and go back, I think it's titled "Domestic Violence Shelters." It's titled, yeah, DV Shelters in Stockton, and it's from like what 2 years ago. And I went in on the women's shelter in Tracy because of that. Go back on my videos. It's kind of like one of my third videos I ever posted. I'm trying to figure this out now. If Hey, okay, I broke a rule about what 6 years ago. My mom came and picked me up a block away, mind you. That happened. My daughter was 8 at the time. She's 16, and they're still on my neck. Actually, yeah, they're on my neck at my jugular vein because they're not letting me in the shelter today. At this moment, they're giving me a hard time. They're not. They keep telling me I do not qualify for their services today, right now, as I need them. Now, mind you, if I did something that you would think someone would be blacklisted for, such as being violent towards staff or other women of the house, being violent towards children, stealing, none of that. So what did I do? What did I do to deserve to be blacklisted? Exactly. I want them to answer that. But of course, they're never gonna answer that. And then, mind you, on when they allowed when they allowed me to stay for 12 days, when they allowed me to stay for 12 days, on that, I guess it's protocol that each time um, a client leaves their shelter, they're given an exit packet, and the exit packet has several answers about your stay. And what is that? Okay, sorry. And so, like I said, so back like what 3 years ago, I completed that exit packet, and I explained my concerns. Do you think anyone ever followed up about my concerns? No. No, they didn't. They didn't. Nope, they didn't. You know what I'm saying? Then it's like I sit back and I'll be like, well, these shelters are for for the community, right? Now, who's funding these shelters? Because it's obviously some corruption somewhere down the line. So I've come to terms with, okay, so it's the community that funds these shelters. These shelters are, ran by donations. You know what I'm saying? And just recently, like I mentioned in my last live, due to COVID, a lot of these shelters, a lot of them received grants. Yes, they did. Such as Merced, Modesto. I guess they obviously skipped San Joaquin, but Yolo County, they received grants. So now when you call, they don't put you in a shelter. Guess what they do? They put you in a hotel. So they didn't receive some bank. They didn't receive some money. And I'm like, as I'm thinking, I'm like, well, why was San Joaquin County skipped over? That's a whole nother topic, I guess. But I'm just a woman on a journey. That's all, and I'm trying to figure out what's up with all the corruption in these community centers. That's for the people. Like, this is ridiculous. Oh my, what in the entire corruptionville is this? I have no clue. So go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Mm-mm-mm. Shame on you guys. Shame on you. I'm in the live here. Pray for me. I pray for everyone that's watching. If you come across this video, you're listening, you know that God loves you. I understand that God has a plan. So, what I'm going through, I know it's all for a greater cause. So just stay tuned in, stay positive. Remember that I'm always coming from a positive place. I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm just here to tell my truth, and express how I feel. So, with that being said, like the video. Y'all have a wonderful day.